Hi, this is Vicki with Crafting for Fun. Today I want to show you how I made this window card. It actually has a square-shaped window opening in the front of the card, and the sentiment is actually stamped through the window so it appears on the outside of the card when the card is closed. It was made using Spellbinder's Nestabilities, the large squares, and it's really quite simple to put together. I think this card packs a lot of wow. It's a cool card to get, and it's fun to make. Let me gather my supplies and I'll show you how I made this card. Okay, so here's what you'll need in order to make today's project. You'll need a piece of cardstock. Cream colored cardstock is what I'm using. It is 4 1/4 inches wide by 11 inches long, and I have scored it at 5 1/2 to make a standard base card. You'll also need a scrap of black cardstock. This piece measures 3 inches by 3 inches. You'll need a scrap of green cardstock. This piece measures 1 inch wide, and you only probably need 4 inches or so of that. And this piece of yellow polka dot paper measures 2 inches wide by 5 3/4 inch long. And that's all the paper supplies you'll need. You'll need some additional items. I'm using the Nestabilities classic large squares. I'm going to be using those, and those are very important for this process. And then you need some kind of a flower. I'm using the Flower Shop stamp set and punch from Stampin Up. But you can use flowers created with any punch, or even from a die cutting machine like the Cricut or Silhouette. And then you'll need some kind of a sentiment to fit inside of your frame opening. You'll need some ink, of course, and some adhesives, and then you'll need a Big Shot machine, or a Cuttlebug, or Ebosser, or a Vagabond machine. Any kind of die cutting embossing machine. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to take my base card piece, and I'm going to need to cut that. Now, I'm not going to bore you by showing you how I actually roll it through the Cricut machine, but I have my clear embossing plate, one clear embossing plate, and I'm going to lay down my piece of base cardstock, and it's already been scored in half, so I know exactly how large the front of my card is going to be. And then I'm going to pull out that set of Spellbinders, the classic large squares, and I'm going to be using 2 of those squares, and I keep mine inside of the case on a magnet, but that didn't work very well for me today. And I'm actually using the 3rd and 4th size. So if you count from the outside, there's the largest, the 2nd largest, then this is the 3rd and the 4th in, and then there's 5, 6, and 7. So there's actually 7 squares in this set, and I'm using the 3rd and 4th in if you're counting from the outside. So I'm going to set the rest of those aside, and I'm going to take my small square, and I'm going to position it on my card. Now I want it to be slightly more towards the top than towards the bottom, but almost center, just slightly above center. And then I'm going to take my other cutting plate, and I would sandwich that together and run it through my Big Shot machine. And what I come out with is a card that looks like this. So I have my square shape cut into my card. So I'm going to set these items aside. And now I'm ready to create my next piece. So I'm going to set my base card aside, and again I'm going to need to work with my Sizzix Big Shot machine. So I'm going to take my clear acrylic cutting mat, I'm going to lay down that 3 by 3 square of black, and I'm going to put my large square on there, and then I'm going to position my next largest square inside of it. Now I want an equal amount of space all around it, so you'll need to fiddle with it to get it exactly where you want. You can use a post-it note to hold your pieces in place. I've seen people do that, or you can use the magnetic platform. Or you can just do it like I'm doing it and sandwich it between 2 plates, pick the whole thing up, and run it through your embossing machine. And what you'll come out with is a frame shape that looks like this. So, you might wonder what these pieces of, I don't know whether you can see that, the pieces of clear plastic paper sticking around it. I'm going to need to eventually glue this to my card. So I've applied adhesive around the edges using this wonderful product that I found on clearance at my local craft store. They're called glue lines, and they're made by the Glue Dots people. And let me see if I can find the end here. And they just are on a little clear piece of acetate. They're just a little line of that same sticky stuff that glue dots are made of. Now there's nothing magic about this product. You could certainly use regular glue dots, glue, or even tape. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to burnish those little glue lines down, and then I'm just going to peel the little liners off. I don't know, they're good and sticky. Oops. There. Now I'm going to take my frame, and I find it easiest if I pick my whole project up and kind of, because I do it by feel, and I'm going to fit that frame exactly over the opening in my card, and then I'm going to go ahead and fold my card in half and set it aside. I have my window frame opening in my card, and now I'm just going to set it aside. So what I need to do next is take my piece of polka dot paper, and like I said, I'm going to be using the Flower Shop stamp set. I'm going to use this particular flower here, and I'm going to stamp that 3 times using black ink on this piece of polka dotted paper, and I have that right here. So I just used Stays On black ink because that was the black ink that was sitting on my desk. Now, I do have a little bit of an issue lining up this particular punch. I have to kind of work with it sometime to get it to perfectly line up. I think it is great. It's a great thing to have a punch that coordinates with your stamp sets. Sure does make it a lot easier than having to cut them out by hand, but I need to get rid of that extra around there so I can punch the next flower. There we go. And there we go. That's flower number 2. And now I have my 3rd flower to get rid of a little bit more of that. And I'm almost done punching here. I find this is the most time-consuming part. I don't know whether I mentioned in the beginning of the video, I'm also using the Stampin' Up! Bird punch to create the leaves for this project. The wing on the bird punch makes a great leaf. If you have this punch, you know, it's certainly an option for you. If you don't have this, you could either hand cut a leaf shape. You could cut one with any other punch that has a similar shape. And so you're going to need 4 of those. Oops, and number 4. And like I told you, I have a lot of extra green there left over, so I'm going to get rid of all those scraps. So I'm almost ready to start assembling my card. So I'm going to bring back my base card, and I do not believe I have my pop dots. Let me grab those and I'll show you how to put this all together. So I've grabbed my pop dots and now I'm ready to start assembling this card. But I do remember one more thing that I want to do before I put any of my flowers in place. I want to add my sentiment. So I'm going to bring out my black Stays On ink, but any good black ink of course would work just fine. I'm going to ink up my sentiment stamp and then try to go right in the center of that window area. There we go. And my stamp says, "Finally, a day that really is all about you." Love that sentiment. Okay, so my sentiment is in place and now I'm ready. I'm going to go ahead and add a pop dot to the back of each of my flowers. And I'm going to position my flowers. I like to put one flower up in the upper corner. I add one flower about midway at the bottom. And then I like to add another flower somewhere near the bottom left-hand corner. And then I use glue dots to actually attach my leaves. This is another product I found. It's actually a glue dot desktop dispenser. Love this thing. It actually protects the glue dots until they are ready to be used because they all stay inside of the dispenser. So you can actually take one glue dot off at a time, just like that. So there we go. I'm going to use about, oh, maybe 4 leaves or so. Maybe stick one there and one more. There really is no magic number of leaves that you have to have. There you go. I'm good with that. Now, this card could be left just as it is, but I wanted to bling it up one more notch, so I took out some inexpensive rhinestones that I got at my local craft store, and I don't have any black ones, and I wanted black to go in the center of these flowers because I'm trying to stay with the yellow and black and cream. And so I'm just going to take a black Sharpie, color my rhinestones, and they're already self-adhesive, so I'm just going to apply one to the center of each flower. There we go. That's all there is to it. Cute little card. Really quite simple to make. I think it packs a lot of wow. I hope you enjoyed today's project. If you have any questions, please email me at craftingforfun@gmail.com or check out my blog craftingforfun.blogspot.com for additional craft projects. Thank you.